Okay, being recorded. So are you guys good if we kick this off?
Okay. I'm good.
Dana, question number 4. Do you want to put that, or should I do that?
Oh, good question.
I can do it. I can answer any of these. I don't really care. But
yeah, you can go, and then maybe I'll jump in, and then
you could jump in if I can't like remember enough. I guess we'll see.
Yeah, and feel free, like if there's something that you guys want to jump in on, feel free. So, okay. I will start this. Okay. So we'll just give it a minute to see if we have any attendees come in. So let's just see. I think we have one attendee. I'm sorry?
Where is this advertised?
Through admissions. So through those channels. So we do have some guests popping into the room. So we'll give everyone a minute to get settled. Okay. Well, let's get started. Thank you, everyone, our attendees, for being here on this webinar. I would like to welcome you to this panel event. My name is Erica. I coordinate recruitment and outreach at University's School of Communication and Journalism. And I'm joined today by our student panelists, and I'll let them introduce themselves. And I'm also joined today by Christopher Ryan, admissions counselor. So we're going to have a really great conversation about student research and working as a research team and opportunities at Stony Brook. And then we'll open it up to a Q&A. So you guys who are joining us can send us your questions in the chat. Christopher will be monitoring that. And please feel free to ask questions about Stony Brook and our different programs here and opportunities. And we hope that you find this event informative and you're even more excited to apply and or come to Stony Brook in the future. So let's kick it off with some introductions. We are waiting on one more of our panelists, Wendy, but she'll be joining us in a few minutes. But we'll kick it off with some introductions. So Melanie, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hi, everyone. I am Melanie. I'm a junior here at Stony Brook. My major is journalism, minor is environmental humanities, and I am from East Northport, New York. My career goals, I would love to be an editor of a newspaper or a podcaster or working in TV broadcast. So I love all of that journalism stuff, and I'm really excited to be here and hopefully inspire you to come to Stony Brook.
Okay, and Dana.
Hey guys, I'm Dana. So I am an environmental humanities major. I'm a senior. This is actually my final semester. I am from Quorum. I was actually born in Stony Brook, which is very interesting that I'm back here. And I would hopefully eventually like to get into environmental education and be an environmental educator, which I have a little bit of experience, but.
That's great. So Dana, we'll start with you about why did you choose Stony Brook and your major?
So I chose Stony Brook for a couple of reasons. First of all, I had been there a couple of times as a teenager because I know that they don't just have the college, but they actually have programs for younger people as well. So they have some kind of camps. So I've seen the campus growing up a little bit and it's gorgeous. Second of all, for me personally, it was very close to home and I loved that. And I knew I wanted to do something with environmentalism eventually, or some kind of natural science. So I knew that Stony Brook just had amazing programs for it and there were so many options. So, and at the careers I've kind of looked at, I have seen graduates from Stony Brook and I know it's an amazingly accredited school. So I had just heard so many good things about it and I definitely do not regret it.
And how about you, Melanie?
I joined Stony Brook. It's not a club. I enrolled at Stony Brook because of the price. It's really reasonable. And I actually got a scholarship here and I decided money talks, you can't just go someplace just because you want to. anywhere is going to be good. And for me, the price counted. So that was a huge factor. Also, I decided that I didn't really want to go far from home. Dorms were really expensive to dorm someplace. And because I could commute, it's a whole lot cheaper. So if that's something that, you know, you're thinking about, the finances, definitely consider Stony Brook, because it's really reasonable for a college. Definitely, 100%. And we also have a ton of good resources. It's not like it's some weird, you know, college off somewhere. This is like a hub, and you have so many great opportunities here.
Yeah, it really pays off being on Long Island and close, especially for, you know, if you're interested in studying journalism too, being so close to New York City, media capital of the world, but also being on the North Shore, and then taking advantage of some opportunities out at like Stony Brook, Southampton, and being by the water, especially if you're interested in environmental or sustainability. So I want to get into a little bit about this research project of yours. So for those of you that aren't too familiar, basically this group here conducted a survey to determine the public's perception of the Hudson River, and they worked under the mentorship of David Taylor, an assistant professor in the Sustainability Studies program and the director of Environmental Humanities major at SOMAS, which is our School of Atmospheric and Marine Sciences. So I want to talk about this research project and the work that you guys were doing. So let's start out with Melanie. Why don't you tell us about the process of putting the survey together?
Definitely. So it kind of just came all together very spontaneously. Wendy, Dana, and I were all in a class that was taught by Dr. Taylor. And at the end of the semester, he came to me asking if I wanted to be his research assistant, sort of, but kind of lead this research project. So I got Wendy and Dana on board, and we worked together. We applied for a grant. Didn't happen, but I solely applied for another grant, and I won that. So that was kind of propelling, you know, the project to continue. And yeah, that's something. Opportunities just come, you know, you just have to let them come. They're not always going to be planned.
Can you add a little bit about why you decided to pursue this specific topic?
Sure. So Hudson River perceptions. I'll let maybe Wendy and Dana kind of take this over, but do you think of the Hudson in a particular way? I mean, do you have like a reputation regarding it, or a perception? So that's what we wanted to kind of discover.
It's a really great question. So yeah, Dana, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
So I would say we didn't necessarily find this topic, and this topic found us. Because again, so there was a grant that was being offered. It wasn't for a particular question or anything. It was just research on the Hudson. And since we had worked together in the past and we already had experience collaborating, we figured maybe we can figure something out. It took us a little while to come up with some ideas of exactly what we were doing, but the main idea was the Hudson. This is what this grant just kind of propelled us on. And the Hudson is close to home. I mean, it's not super close to us in Long Island, but it is something. I mean, personally, as an environmental major, the Hudson waterway is like pretty important. So again, it really just found us.
So Wendy, I'm glad that you were able to join us. Thank you so much for being here. Do you want to add anything about just coming up with this idea and putting this survey together about that process?
So I think we were largely looking to see like the difference in between, because we were trying like generational differences when older people might think of the Hudson compared to the younger people. Because we had at the time, I think it was during quarantine, and we had taken a class on like, I think it was like environmental vocabulary or sustainability studies. I can't quite remember what the class exactly was. but it was all about like, we read Walden, and it was about like perception and like certain verbs, like words that have to do with sustainability studies. And I think that really played a part in what we ended up choosing as our topic. Yeah, sorry, I don't feel the best. So
It's okay. So yeah, and if you have to step off, that is completely okay. So let's, oh, thank you, Melanie, for adding critical analysis in environmental humanities. So for those of you who are maybe interested, you can take a look at that class here. So let's see, can you tell me, Dana, can you tell me a little bit about coming from all different academic backgrounds, how is it collaborating as a multidisciplinary team? Because you come from all these different experiences, and the classes that you've been taking for your majors are, you know, maybe there's some overlap, but they're probably different as well. So tell me about that experience.
I think coming from all different academic backgrounds was really good for collaboration, honestly. I think, again, as you mentioned, we've all taken different classes, so we're all bringing a little bit of different skills in. And we were able to kind of take our work and separate it into the skills we're good at, if that makes sense. And I don't have anything too specific, but again, sometimes when you're in the same major, people are working very similar, more similar as you. So doing a project with them, it might be great, but you guys all are kind of bringing the same set of skills there. Oh my goodness, sorry. But yeah, I just think it was very interesting to have our different thought processes. Like I know Melanie's journalism, so she's got a lot of skills there. I'm more sciencey, and I have experience in story maps, which was a part of our project as well. But I think it was great. I think it led to a great experience and a lot of different experiences. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. So how do you feel that your academic majors help prepare you for this project? So Melanie, you're a journalism major. So how do you feel that your journalism, your skills as a journalist or as a reporter help prepare you for doing this research project?
Well, journalism is phenomenal. And I'm not, getting paid by the journalism department here, but it really, really empowers you to talk to people, to discover different things and not be afraid to seek them out. So for this project, we had to create a survey and then get a ton of people to take the survey. And that is hard. That is really hard. You probably don't realize it until you do it, but we got like almost 600 people to take this survey, and I was kind of behind like getting it out there. And my journalism degree definitely helped with that. My personality, I like to talk to new people, so that helped, but also the journalism, and also just writing emails to organizations. I reached out to Cornell cooperatives all over New York, city councils, colleges. I mean, I wrote mass emails, so that helped, just the writing aspect of that.
Yeah, definitely. I guess it's kind of like when you're trying to find, reach someone to interview for a story too. Like you would really have to go after it, like really track them down. So I could say, yeah. So Dana, as an environmental humanities major, how do you feel like this prepared you? But I'm sure, I mean, it's so connected to that environmental piece, this topic. So if you could expand.
Yeah. So personally, I feel like I had some good background for this project. So I already have a lot of experience researching natural areas. Now we kind of needed to dig deeper into that, but as I said, I do have experience in that area. And then for a couple of classes, I've actually had to use like mapping software, which we used a little bit, story maps, which we are going to be using in our project, creating surveys. But I think that's pretty much it. But a lot of my classes kind of prepared me for this, except for the marketing aspect. But for example, I can't remember the exact name of the class, but there was a class where we had to learn how to make interactive maps, which people don't realize how much they often use in their life. For example, with COVID, people might look on interactive maps to see where it's where the cases are higher, for example. So that class definitely helped me prepare for this a lot.
Great. So give me an update on where this, where I guess your results maybe stand. So, and if there was anything that surprised you while researching the topic. I remember getting one of those emails, Melanie, over the summer when you were looking for people to take your survey. And I remember completing it myself. And I'm really interested in hearing and learning about what you guys learned. So tell us a little bit about it, Melanie.
Well, thank you, Erica, for taking our survey. Right now, we are currently dissecting the results. So we are transporting the data into a story map. And what a story map is, I know that sounds like, what is that? That is basically an interactive map, as Dana said, where all of the data is more readable and understandable to normal human beings. You don't have to be a scientist to understand. So we're using a lot of photographs and, kind of web designs and word clouds, and just trying to make a presentation of what we learned from the survey and then present it. We're going to be hopefully traveling across New York, presenting the survey and the results. But yeah, things that surprised me, I would say the kind of the disconnect that people have for the river. A lot of people think it's super clean, down in the city area, and then, super dirty down in the city area, and then super clean up north. And then other people thought, when one of our questions was, what do you think of when you think of the Hudson? How would you describe it? And a lot of people said beautiful, and then a lot of people said polluted. So it was interesting, this this dichotomy of what's beautiful, what's polluted, how can we decipher what is what?
And how about you, Dana?
Sorry, didn't realize my mic was off for a second. Well, I feel that, again, Melanie said we're dissecting the data right now. We still got to put that story map together. But I think that those same results were surprising to me as well. I don't know how surprising, but it is very interesting to see, looking at a full survey response instead of individual responses, because they're all anonymous, right? But we can look at one person's survey answers and see how they connect in different areas with the answers and how much they differ from somebody that maybe lives super close to them, or maybe lives super far away from them, or maybe looking at the data of the people that don't even live in New York and don't know a lot about the Hudson. So I think location played a big part in our results, which I did think was going to happen. But another thing that surprised me was I felt like people in similar age groups had very similar responses. For example, we'd ask the age groups, and we had, 55 to 70, they would answer very similar things. And a lot of that age group did take the survey. And then let's say 20 and 30 or 18 to 30, they might have had very different responses. So those results did surprise me.
And as you're traveling and presenting these results, what do you think the impact can be, or the takeaway, and what can people do? What does this mean, I guess? Or what actions? I hope that question makes sense.
It does. Our goal is to change people's perspectives by showing them their perspectives. That's kind of the objective here. People have certain perceptions of the Hudson River, and we want to kind of show those. We want to talk about those. Why do you think it's dirty? Why do you think it's polluted? Why do you think it's beautiful? Is that because it's a natural wonder, or is it because of the skyline? So, or the city skyline? So that's what we're kind of trying to show. And then hopefully show, because the Hudson really isn't that polluted. I mean, it's of course it's polluted, but it's not as polluted as people think. You know, a lot of people think like, oh, if I stick my finger in it, it's gonna like fall off. You know, that's not true. And that's a reputation that the Hudson has, but a lot of people haven't really updated their databases in their mind. So that's what we want to talk about is why do you have those perceptions? Let's change those for future generations.
Really interesting.
Part
So,
of my feeling, oh, sorry, don't want to interrupt you.
No, go,
Wanted to
Dana,
jump in
please,
a little bit.
share.
So part of my little hope of what kind of impact this survey can bring, and it may not be directly, I was very interested in people's perceptions, again, as an environmental major, because I want to know what kind of things we need to change when working with the environment. So if so many people said that they think the Hudson is polluted, that is for a specific reason. Is there things that can be done to change that? Is the Hudson really so polluted? And if it is, what can we do so future generations are not thinking of the Hudson River, which has been there for practically forever. I don't know exactly the age, but these natural spaces, we want them to be looked at in a positive light, and we want people to utilize them and be able to enjoy nature, and not, when they think of a natural space, think of garbage that is washing up onto their beach in the backyard. So how do we go about changing that?
Really interesting. As I was taking the survey too, it got me, I mean, of course, me thinking about my own perceptions, but also how, like, I started realizing, I was like, is that really, like, after I took the survey, like, is that really right though? Like, you're talking about this vast, you know, area too, that it covers. So yeah, really, really interesting. So Melanie, you had mentioned earlier that you received an undergraduate research and creative activities, and that we call Eureka at Stony Brook for our attendees. So if you hear Eureka, that's what I'm talking about, and a Eureka grant to support this research. So can you tell us a little bit about your experience participating in Eureka, and just about your experience and how students can, when they get here, participate as well?
Sure, absolutely. One thing to remember is you will get rejected hundreds of times in your life. So get used to rejection, and don't let rejection deter you. That's the key. A lot of people let that happen, but don't. So we applied to a grant. That's why we decided to do this whole project on the Hudson River, the perceptions of the Hudson, because we wrote a proposal. We did this whole thing because of this one grant. And we didn't get the grant. Well, they said they didn't even receive our application, which was very aggravating because we put so much work into it. So instead of getting all freaked out and giving up, I decided to apply to Eureka, which is, as Erica said, undergrad research and creative activities grant. And that was solely, you know, like a sole application. So I think we all applied, but I won it. And that was a $4,000 grant, I believe. And I put that money towards my efforts during the summer, because to get almost 600 people to take a survey is extremely difficult. I made hundreds of phone calls, emails. I went to the city. I went to a park in the city by the Hudson River and went up to strangers and asked them to take my survey. That's the type of situation I was in. So that's really why I applied to Eureka, because I didn't want to just give up. And once I got it, that was exciting. And then I carried it out, and I will be presenting the findings at the next Eureka Symposium. But that's pretty much it. So don't get deterred by rejection.
It's definitely good advice, no matter what major or what career you pursue. I mean, especially something like journalism or something that you really need an internship. You know, you may get quite a few rejections, but you still have to keep on going for them. So yeah, I definitely agree. And can you talk a little bit about the research symposium? So this is, how often do those happen? And this is when everyone comes together to present their research, right?
Yes, I believe it happens in May. So in the spring semester. That's when it'll happen.
And this is so like an annual event of students presenting their research.
Yes, but there's a ton of symposiums. I mean, on campus, off campus. We're probably going to be, or I'm going to be presenting this project maybe at the Museum of Natural History, possibly, maybe up, up and down the, like the Hudson, we'll see. But yeah, it's always good to get involved.
Great. So what advice would you guys give to a new Stony Brook student interested in pursuing an undergraduate research project? Dana, do you want to start off?
Yeah, for sure. So I would recommend think about what you want to do, because there are so many opportunities available and they will not all present themselves like ours presented itself to us. I think it all starts with getting to know your professors. What do your professors do when they're not teaching? Because most professors are doing something else. They're doing research. I personally had a professor last semester in the spring who casually asked me, I'm not doing research with her this semester, but she asked me if I would be interested in doing research on nuclear sites, I believe, another kind of mapping project, or something we could figure out on the topic of nuclear things. So that's a very interesting kind of thing, but normally professors are very willing to take on undergrad students for research. And it can really be for anything. And I think if there's anything you want to research, you can find somebody to go under and research with them. You just have to ask around. Even your advisors, if you talk to like your major advisors, if you talk to them about wanting to do a specific kind of research, they can usually point you in the right direction. If it's not them that would be able to help you, they might know another professor who is very interested in the same subject. And that really goes for anything, not just like science subjects. You could do research on practically anything. Anything you would want to research, you will be able to. You just have to talk to people.
Yeah, finding those professors with those within, something that you're interested in, those experts in that area. So Melanie, what do you think?
I totally agree with Dana. Open your mouth. That's the main thing. Just be assertive. If you don't tell them that you want to do research, they're not going to ask you to do research. So get to know your professors, because they're here for you. And remember that you're paying them. Like all these people, all the faculty members, all the staff, all the professors, all the people who work at Stony Brook are here for you. You are giving them their paycheck. So use that as a resource and tell them that you want to get involved. And don't be afraid. That's the main thing, is that just don't be afraid. And if you're rejected and if they laugh at you, which they won't, but I'm just saying, if they laugh at you, if they say, no, that's not, my specialty, whatever, okay, so find someone else. But if you're passionate about doing it, just do it. You're here. You only live once.
And Dana made a good point about, even beyond the sciences, so like other research areas, even if you're in the social sciences or you pursue another major that isn't, your typical, it's outside of STEM. That's completely okay. And those research areas exist and you can explore those. So just, I want to wrap up this conversation before we turn it over to maybe some Q&A if our attendees have any questions. If you guys want to start chatting them, that would be great. But looking back at your experience, as you're wrapping up your time at Stony Brook in the next semester or two, looking back, what is one thing you wish you knew on your first day as a Stony Brook student?
I've got this. I wish I knew how many resources there were and just cool things, cool little niches about Stony Brook. And I wish I had figured these things out more before COVID happened and things started to go online, for example. And this is just a small fun example. This is not even anything crazy. There's these labs where with a lot of like creative stuff in them that I was making buttons for a project. And they have button makers there. They have all kinds of cool stuff there. And I remember being there and I didn't figure out about it until the end of my second semester when I was doing this project, and I'm like, wow, I really want to come here. They have so much cool stuff. I can get creative. I'm not really taking any art classes, but I love art. I can come here. I can use supplies, and there's other kinds of rooms just like this. And then unfortunately things got moved online, and I didn't get too much more opportunity during my time to check everything out. And I didn't even dive barely into these things, into these resources. And there's so many clubs out there. There's so many of these cool little rooms and things you can do. So that is what I wish I knew.
Was that, I think that's is it iCreate is that the lab?
I think it might have been iCreate. It's been about 2 years since I've been in there, and I wish I was able to go more, because I remember just thinking, I've got to come here more. And I unfortunately was never able to, but it was so cool.
Yeah, they do a lot of great work. And when the pandemic switched, they actually started making supplies, if it's the same lab that we're thinking of. But the staff member who runs it did some really wonderful work making like face shields and stuff for people at the hospital. So, and students, some students got involved in that too. So Melanie, what about you? Looking back, what was one thing you wish you knew on your first day as a Stony Brook student?
It goes so fast. It really goes really, really fast. And this semester, I feel like this is my freshman year, even though I'm a junior, because of COVID. So, I mean, whatever, it is what it is. But yeah, get involved because the time goes by so quickly, and you just have to just jump in, you know, like I remember I'm kind of a cat lover in like a strange way. So I joined SBU Cats my freshman year. That was like one of the first clubs I joined, just because I wanted to get involved, and I thought, why not? So I haven't gone back. Like I went maybe, you know, to 3 meetings or whatever. But the point is that just get involved in something, anything, go somewhere, anywhere. Even if you think, I'm not really into this, just go and realize that this is like your experience, and you need to make the best out of it, and you need to make the most out of it, and you are most important. So just have fun. Also, that's a big thing. Try not to stress too much. It really doesn't matter. Like your GPA just doesn't, I mean, I'm like, look, I have a 4.0. I'm very hard on myself, but your GPA does not matter. Honestly, just have fun and enjoy.
Well, on that note, we don't have any questions, but I think that's a good note to end on, because it really does go by really, really fast. I mean, it's it's unbelievable. Just those 4 years that you're with us, how fast it goes. So, but I want to thank you all for being here today, and for talking about this project and your experience at Stony Brook. And I hope, for our attendees, that this was helpful, and that you learned a little bit about the student experience and some opportunities here. So please keep in touch with us. If you're interested in Stony Brook, or if you're interested in, of course, Stony Brook, but our majors at the School of Communication and Journalism, or at SOMAS, please let us know. We're always happy to connect with you, and we hope to see you soon. Okay.
Please connect
Well,
with
Matt,
me.
yes, Melanie shared
Yes,
her social media, so you can follow along and maybe get some updates about this project. So on that note, I will close out our webinar, but have a wonderful evening, everyone, and we hope to see some of our attendees on campus soon. Good night.
Thank you, Erica.
Bye, Dana.